So today, actually, I want to take a little time to explore the breath. Not so much talking about it, but actually experience the breath as an object of awareness. And pretty much all meditative traditions feature the breath as a present moment object of awareness. It is a handy tool for present moment awareness. A couple of reasons. One, it's immediately available to us if we just direct our attention to the breath. Um, as Jon Kabat-Zinn likes to say about the breath, you can't leave home without it. So it's always with us. It's right immediately available. Um, it's also a useful object of meditative awareness because it provides direct feedback about the conditions of the mind and the body. When we're anxious, the breath tends to be short and choppy. When we're at ease, the breath is long and smooth. So by paying attention to the breath, we're also kind of tuning into what's happening for us mentally and bodily and emotionally. Also, the other thing about the breath is it's doing all the breathing, which means it does not depend on us to make it breathe. Yes, we can adjust our breath, but the breath, like heart function, is independent of our mind telling it to do what it naturally does. So, in that sense, the function of breathing and the function of the heartbeat are impersonal, even though they're essential. It doesn't depend on how we feel about it. It's just going to happen automatically. The other thing is the breath is always moving in and moving out moment by moment. So noticing the breath draws our attention to this moment and to the awareness of that moving, that this breath is here and then it's gone. And so that also reminds us of impermanence. So today we'll practice mindfulness of breathing. And these particular guidelines for this meditation are based on an ancient Buddhist text that I've mentioned before, the Anapanasati Sutra. It says, and has a section in there on discourse on mindfulness of breathing in and breathing out. So we'll be drawing from these. And the reason I say that is because I want you to know that this is not just a kind of something we're making up. This is drawn on some very deep wisdom traditions. Okay, so let's practice together and I'll give us some guidance throughout. So, of course, all of our mindfulness practice begins with the body, and so we notice and pay attention and even adjust if need be the posture so that we're in a relatively upright and at ease kind of posture. So you can be sitting or lying down for this and notice the grounding in the low part of the body or the parts of the body that are making contact with the ground or the seat. And then allowing the spine to rise up kind of naturally, not being overly rigid with the spine, but lengthening up through the spine and letting the hands come to rest comfortably. If you're lying down, you could rest the hands on the body or on the ground next to the body. If you're seated, you could let the hands come to rest, on the legs or taking one on top of the other in the lap. And you might close your eyes or just lower your gaze to a spot a few feet down in front of you. And with this posture, just take a moment to notice, the contact points with the chair or the ground. And notice the weight of your own body sitting or lying here. And how that noticing might help you touch into this sense of just being present here. And now bringing the attention to the breath. And there's no need now to change it or manipulate or do anything about the breath, just noticing it as it is. And allowing the breath to be as it actually is right here, right now, without you struggling with it. And you may have a lot of issues around breathing, especially this time of year, at least in the US and in the South especially. Uh, Everything is blooming already. And so those of us with allergies maybe become aware of the breath as a kind of a struggle. Or maybe you have other conditions that make that difficult to breathe. But right now, we don't need to do anything about it but notice it. Even if it's very shallow, then just notice that. And it's a good reminder, really, that might reassure us in some way that the practice of breath awareness has been shown to support the parasympathetic activation of the parasympathetic response of the nervous system. And that part of the nervous system, the parasympathetic part, manages the body's kind of rest and digest functions. And that counterbalances the fight or flight response. And so this just gentle awareness and this breath awareness in that way can activate that system in the nervous system, the parasympathetic response, the promoting calming of the body, the conservation of energy. This system helps manage digestion, lowers the heart rate, reduces blood pressure, increases absorption of nutrients. So it's very important that we work with being in that parasympathetic response. And that shift can happen simply by turning the attention to the breath in a non reactive way in a present moment. So just noticing now, there's just breathing in and noticing the in breath and breathing out and noticing the out breath. And you might even recognize some detail about that, like a long breath, noticing it as a long breath, a short breath, noticing it as a short breath, not analyzing that or trying to make anything happen, but just noticing. This is the first instruction in the text of mindfulness of breathing, to know the breath as it is in this moment, just to know it. And that frees you up from, wrestling with it, trying to hold on, trying to push away, trying to make something different. As you're noticing the breath as it really is, you may also notice that the mind will wander, get caught up in thinking, remembering, planning, caught up in a storyline, an emotion. And so the practice includes working with that wandering mind. Notice that the mind is wandering. And the moment of noticing is an essential part of mindfulness. If your mind goes off somewhere and you're all caught up in the future and you never even realize it, then you'll spend the whole time just projecting into the future. So the mindfulness part of it is recognizing when that happens and then gently returning the awareness to the breath. And I emphasize gently. That's the non-judgmental part. You don't have to evaluate or wonder why it's all caught up in something. Just recognize it and return from to the breath. This breath and this breath, moment by moment. And though that sounds simple, it's not always easy to do. Sometimes we don't want to let go of things and let them go downstream. But it's a critical part of mindfulness meditation. Each return strengthens our attention and particular networks in the brain, what's sometimes called meta awareness. Meta awareness meaning you can monitor or reflect on your thoughts, emotions, attentional state, all that's happening, and getting beyond just being caught up in them or experiencing them. But you can see it happening and then make choices. Meta awareness is also sometimes referred to as thinking about thinking, you know, or I like to call it a participant observer, you know. And it is clear in the research, the neuroscientific research, that practicing non judgmental present moment awareness does increase meta awareness, thereby giving you choices. Now that I notice that my mind is projecting to the future, I can decide not to do that right now. So, returning is an essential part of mindfulness training. And it helps us develop that kind of awareness, that meta awareness. So now we're noticing the breath, and then we're also noticing the mind wandering from the breath, and then we're also returning to the breath. Now, expanding our awareness from noticing the breath as an individual kind of thing and noticing where we feel the breath. And let's open that up to sensing the whole body breathing. And experiencing the body as a kind of field of sensation that includes the breath. So we don't have to locate it just in the chest or the abdomen or anything, but we sense that the whole body is breathing. So breathing in, aware of the whole body, breathing out, aware of the whole body. This is a bit of a shift toward a more kind of integrated state. The breath is not just one place, but the breath permeates the entire body. And let that sense of the breathing in the whole body also be a calm understanding. So see if you can also settle down in the body and let the breath just be as it is, not forcing relaxation or anything or softening, but just inviting it. Breathing in, sensing the body, breathing out, calming the body. And you might notice areas of discomfort or tension or tightness. And without making it happen, just inviting a little bit of a softening or a calming or releasing, even if it's just letting the shoulders release down or parting the lips slightly so that the jaw is not so tense. But let that just be a suggestion. And just for this last minute or so, just kind of letting go of all of that and just being. Let go awareness of the breath and the body. Let go of awareness of feelings and thoughts and just resting in awareness itself of just being present.